Welcome back to the shooting channel, and today we're going to talk about game cartridges versus clay cartridges. A clay cartridge generally is sort of 21 grams to 28 grams. Again, with fit-ass you can get some slightly heavier loads for the far out targets, but generally 21 grams to 28 grams. A game shell is generally 32 sixes, 30 grams, 30 grams, 32 grams, 5s, 4s, so generally you go down because you want more grammage, and the more grammage you have gives you that bit more killing capacity, because when you're shooting game shooting, you want to kill an animal. So you want that extra little killing capacity to knock that animal, to stone it dead. Whereas when you're shooting clays, you're only shooting at a clay disc. So that is why the general gist is when you go game shooting, you're looking for a number 6, 32 gram or 30 gram, or then you go down. And when you're shooting clays, generally you're looking at 28 gram, 7.5s. And that's generally the two differences when you're going game shooting. If you go to a clay ground, and just remember that game shells will travel that extra little bit further, and they will be that little bit noisier when you're shooting game shells. So that is why a lot of clay grounds, the general rule is you cannot shoot game shells on a clay ground. So just be prepared. If you are going out this time of year, it happens a lot, and you're going down to your local clay ground to practice to shoot your pheasants, make sure you've got your clay cartridges in your bag and not your game cartridges. So that's generally the general rule. Is a clay cartridge is 7.5s. Game cartridges tend to go down a bit, and they're 6s, 5s, 4s. So the lower the gram, the more killing capacity it is for game shooting. The higher it is, the more likely it's going to be for clay shooting. Keeping it simple, that is the simplest way of working out whether it's a clay cartridge or whether it's a game cartridge. Generally, game cartridges, 90% of them are fibre wad, because when you're going out shooting game, you're over farmland, you're over parkland, you want to have fibre wad. Plastic wad, there's a lot of people go into fibre now, but generally clay cartridges can be fibre or plastic. And the reason why people like plastic shells is when you're shooting the top end trap or skeet, they pattern a lot better. So that is really where you want to be looking at when you're picking your cartridges for clay shooting or for game shooting. And we have got, Fiocchi have actually launched the brand new Highland Game, which is a sensible game cartridge at sensible money. Because generally, game cartridges are generally about £40 a thousand more money than clay cartridges, because there's more grammage in them, there's more lead in them. So that's generally why clay cartridges and why game cartridges are more money. So if you are thinking about going game shooting, have a look at the Fiocchi range and see what they go from, and see how they go from there. The other thing you will find is if you shoot a game cartridge against a clay cartridge, there will be a lot more recoil when you shoot them. So to get that killing capacity, they've got to have more velocity to make the cartridge go further and kill that board. So it's all about the velocity of the cartridge that makes the loudness of it and makes the recoil of it. So let's just shoot a couple against each other. You'll probably hear the noise difference. So I'm going to try the clay cartridges first. So I've got myself a nice little light game gun. I've got myself a little Beretta game gun. Now generally, game guns are lighter, so this is where you have to be very careful picking your game shell by getting the most smoothest game shell you can get, but still the most effective game shell you can get that's going to kill that pheasant or partridge or grouse. Oh. 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 So that was my clay shells, and that was Fiocchi F Black 7.5 fibre wad. And now I've got my game shells, which are 30 gram 6s fibre wad. Pull. 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 That was my game shells versus my clay shells. Now straight away I felt the recoil. So the recoil isn't a lot more. I wouldn't say for a game shell they're actually that bad, but they are more than a clay shell. Now if you go and shoot something like the F Black Dark Storms, they are an absolute woomph and they really thump you, but they are really fast and they are really... Now I think the Dark Storms, I think they are too much, because you don't need that. That is a little 30 gram 6, okay, they're a little bit more thumpy, but they are a really good shell and they will kill 90% of what you're going to shoot at, 95% of what you're going to shoot at when you're going game shooting. And I don't know whether you could hear it, but the game shell was a little bit louder than the clay shell. So that is why, don't go to your shooting ground or your school and shoot with your game shells. Make sure you fill up with your clay shells. So I'm going to do a clay shell in the bottom barrel, number 7.5 or 8s fibre wad, and I'm going to put a 30 gram 6 fibre wad in the top barrel. And now that was a basic film about what is the difference. Just remember, 7.5 upwards, 6s downwards generally is where you need to be going. 30 gram, 30 gram, 32 gram, 40 gram is when you're talking game shells. 28 gram, 24 gram, 21 gram is when you're talking clay shells. For any information you'd like to find out about any of the products we featured in this film, please like and subscribe or comment below. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.